businesses can scale locally and globally. Because we talk about the exports. I'm also listening from last 2 decades that we wanted to enhance the exports, and we desire to enhance the export as much as possible. But unfortunately, it's not increasing as it should be, or as it should be, or it's not increasing as it should be, or our potential, according to our potential. There are a number of reasons for that, and today we are going to first discuss about those. Why our exports or expansions are not our exports and our businesses are not growing as they should be growing. That's why we are unable to enhance our exports despite the efforts from the government sector. Private sector is also working very hard. Individually, everybody is working, making efforts, but the results are very limited as compared to our potential. If we see even the reaching much greater 2x, 3x, 5x exports, they are increasing every year. They are increasing the local manufacturing bases, giving employment to their people, and people are also getting better because they are getting jobs, work opportunities, side businesses and other things like that. So they are expanding, and the reason is why we are not in a position to enhance our exports. We need to dig into this area today, basically. So today our key question is for everyone. I would like to ask everyone. We have to look into this, that are we satisfied with our business growth, or is it underperforming despite our efforts? So why are we satisfied or not? Because this is the first key question. If we are satisfied and we think we are enough, we reach to the peak, that's another question. But how many of us feel that we have still a lot of potential, but we are not been able to grow as we should be? So we are going to address this today in our presentation. What are the reasons behind it? Actually, growth is common, but the scaling of the business is rare. Most businesses hit a ceiling very soon, because there is a difference between the growth and the scaling of the businesses. Growth is we like 5-10% we are growing every year. But the problem with the growth is we have an inflation also, we have a currency devaluation also, and all these things end of the day do not add up, and our businesses are still struggling to grow. Why? Because that growth is not enough. Although we are making profits, companies are making profits, expanding a little bit more every year, expanding a little, but there is another aspect to that, and that is compared to the world, where the world is going, and are we keeping up with the pace of the world? If world is growing by 1x, 2x, 3x, and we are growing only 5%, 10%, it means we are staying behind than the world. We are already behind than the world, and we are further the gap is increasing. So that's the problem basically with the growth formula only. So that's why today I'm going to discuss about the scaling. We need to scale up the business. The question is, normally I ask, how many businesses crossed 3x growth in last 5 years? Probably very few. And if we compare to the world, US companies, even the Vietnam, Bangladesh, those countries who are much behind economically than ours, their companies are growing more than that. And we have to take today why we are not growing with their pace. Today, I would like to also talk about the new modern system. The new world is changing every day. There are new realities of the world today. Today, the countries do not grow first. It's the businesses who grow first. And then the economies scale up. And growth is common, scale is rare. So if we wanted to grow our country, we have to develop and grow our businesses first. Because if you go to the world, any big cities, it's the businesses who are thriving those cities. New York, London, Los Angeles, anywhere. It's the business. Even it is noticed that when some companies shift from one city to another city, that city goes down a lot. Because the businesses move away, the cities shrink a lot. So any city who is prospering in the world, it's due to the base of the businesses. Businesses grow, opportunities grow, the cities also grow. And the same way the countries grow. If we do not grow the business, countries cannot grow. Basically, these are the three drivers of growth in today and future world. We already saw that Japan has been developed and grown by businesses. Korea, China, now they are becoming some other powers also, but first they focus on the business growth, the economic growth, and then the other world power they are heading towards. In the new world order, basically, it's the business that's the driving growth, that drives the growth, because those are the one who earns the money for any nation. It's a business who earns the money. It's basically businesses create value, and that's the most important thing. And when businesses grow, people become happy. They become the well-being of the people. Because when the businesses grow, the opportunities rises. The people will become more economically. They have more money to spend. When they spend more money, when they have more money, they spend more money. And when they spend more money, then more businesses drive. And other businesses, the multinationals and other companies, they started coming into that country or into that cities also. So basically, business drives everything, and the government's role is basically to facilitate and enable the growth. They provide the level playing field. That's the role of the government in the future. And you have seen that now the US dollar is the international reserve currency. Once it was British pound, before it was French also, Spanish, Portugal, all those countries. And if we look at those countries and why those currencies has been changed and the power has been lost by those countries, the major reason is the economic growth. The money, when they have lot of borrowings, their financial health become weak, then they lost the power to some other country. And after World War II, British lost the power to USA, and USA became the only international currency in the world. So basically, it's the economics at the back of the, regardless of how powerful you are, military-wise or the other, but if you don't have the money, you can't do anything, you can't progress. And now future is more critical because it's the technology and the economy that drives everything in the future. Without technology, you cannot grow and you cannot grow. Actually, in Pakistan case, Pakistan does not lack talent. It lacks businesses that can scale. Talk about what is scaling up. Scaling up is growth without proportional increase in efforts. I mean, you have to, the businesses must grow more than their expenses, their cost. They have, and they grow faster than, yeah. Businesses grow faster. In scaling up, businesses grow much faster as compared to the expenses, the cost, and the other development costs which they require. What I have seen and noticed over the year is like in last 10-15 years, many businesses say they are profitable, they are growing, but they cannot keep up with the growth. They need the investment all the time for their expansions, for new product developments. And why they need additional investments from the banks or from the stakeholders, because they are growing but they are not scaling up. Scaling up is, and during scaling up, most of the time you don't need the investments, additional investments. Every few years you don't need to invest in that. The business is scaling in such a way and making such a profit that it's already generating enough cash to modernize the factories, to putting up new factories, to putting up new businesses. So that's by scaling. But one of the important thing about scaling the business is it should not depend on the founders. It should be independent of the founders. It should run itself with their own systems and management. That's very key and important for scaling up the businesses. And you can see also in Pakistan context, if you see from 2 to 3 generations, sometimes 1 to 2 generations, the businesses does not grow. After 1 or 2, 3 generations, the businesses finish or shrink down. Why? There is no system. It's not, the business is not scaled up. So this is basically the difference and the comparison between the growth and the scaling system. Growth is effort driven. It's mostly founder and their key members that drive the growth. In case of scaling, it's a system that drives the growth and scale up. Revenues is growing much faster as compared to its cost. Systems giving higher output because it's the system. Collectively, everyone is delivering rather than just a few people. In the growth phase, the complexities are more. In case of scaling, it's the efficiency that drives the basically growth and the scaling. It's much profitable, and in case of a growth, it's more input and more output. The more you input, the more you get the output. In case of a scaling, it's a better system, so it gives the exponential output. So the output in case of a scaling is exponential. It's much more than what we can get from a growth-driven company. So what happened is, when anybody started a business, it started growing, founders making efforts, trying to do sales, and hiring a few people, but mostly very small team. That's the one who is driving the growth. But after a certain limit, as you say, it stuck, it plateau. Most of the businesses, it becomes the sale is very flat, and businesses are not growing more than that. Some or a few of the businesses still further grow, and by increasing sales, by increasing product lines, by selling more, but still they down the years, few years down the road, their growth becomes stagnant again. The sales struck up. The products are not expanding. They normally at this stage we called it a growth ceiling. At this stage, the owners normally ask me a question like, what other products we can go into? We cannot scale up. Our businesses are not growing. They always have this kind of question. Whenever they meet someone, they ask this question. We were doing okay with the sales, but the business is not growing. We are still there. They have the gap between their thinking and their current position is much more. They usually say that it's because of the economy. Economy is not doing good. The environment is not good. Some disruptions and all those things. But actually, the reason is much more than that. It's not just the economy or the opportunities are not there. Not only opportunities are there, but it's the internal factors which is stopping them to grow further. So that's the place we usually call the business is stuck up. And when the business is stuck up, actually if the business is not growing, stuck up means basically it is growing down. It cannot be stable because the world is moving fast. So either it has to grow and scale up or it has to go down. So that's the problem. And sometimes it takes few years, sometimes it takes many years before people realize they are not growing, they have to do something, or they change the business. That's why they change the business and switch to other businesses that try to do different things. Actually, we have to think about it, and when we talk with those businesses, we will see how the strategy or the market, what's the challenge is. It's the strategy, it's the market, it's the people, or it's the execution. Sometimes there are many reasons. And let me now first give you the example of a scaling up a business. I started a company, I'm working with one of the companies. They were producing about 42,000 units annually, air coolers, and they have other appliances, they are working on that. And the directors were mixed, their response, some were saying we are doing okay, we wanted to grow more. Some are saying we cannot increase our production, that's our challenges, our production is our bottleneck and challenges, we have the opportunities and sales. So when we dig up, we work together, I noticed there are many things which has to be done. First, it's the strategy that needs to be think about it. How you want to grow, where you want to grow, what's your bottlenecks, and how we can move forward. And today, that company is producing more than 300,000 units annually. It's 7x in the last 8 years, constantly growing by 26% year after year. When the economy is growing only 3-4%, there was a coronavirus, there was a time when dollar was very short, the critical components were difficult to import, and on and off crisis which we face. This company is growing by 26% and now they are like 300 units plus they are producing. In addition to that, they have scaled up to Saudi Arabia and UAE. They established their own offices. They are going to establish another factory in Saudi Arabia. They are exporting to more than 20 countries now. And this is just a beginning. It's not that they have achieved a lot in exports. It's still, we feel it's just a humble start in exports. There is a lot of potential and they are working on that. They have just bought another land of 45 acres to establish a new state-of-the-art facility. It's not just the sales, it's basically the overall business that increases. And one thing I would like to also emphasize here is why I am saying it's in numbers, 42,000 to more than 300,000. Because in value, the increase is much more. Because in value, when we talk about it, also includes the devaluation impact, the inflation impact, the other price factors. So the growth, if we see in terms of value, it's much more than this. So this is basically scaling up the businesses. And I have noticed during the 8 years with all kind of investment plan, stakeholders, the owners, they did not chip in any money. They withdraw every year as their profits, but they did not have to reinvest. So this is called the scaling up of businesses. So I want these type of things more and more companies like this. Let me give you another example. Scaling is not just the execution of certain things, which we will discuss those things in the future also. But it's also very important is also setting the right direction of any business. It's also very important. I can give you another example. One of my another client, he called me, he was having a Whirlpool distribution and they wanted to relaunch the American brand Whirlpool. And they asked me for that. When we sit together, I advise them, please do not invest in this area. You cannot do well in this area. So they were a very big manufacturer of auto rickshaw. They have a desire to go into the auto sector. But they were also developing their own car from last 2 years by designing their own car, small car, 400cc, just extension of rickshaw. They set up the factory already in only building yet. They set up the buildings yet, but plant and equipment has yet to be ordered. They got all the permissions from the Engineering Development Board, Ministry of Industries, to launch that 4-seater car, small car. I told them when they show me the car, I wanted to see your development, how is it going? And they showed me the car and I listened to them carefully, I did some homework and then I advised them, please stop this project. This will not take you anywhere. This is not the right time and the right place to launch this kind of product. I know you have the expertise, you can design the product, you can launch it, but I don't see it's prospering or it's growing or it will be a profitable business. He's surprised and shocked and they said we have invested a lot of money in that. The building is already ready, we are in process of ordering some of the machinery is ordered, some we are going to order shortly and we have already invested a lot, we are a public limited company. I said, do your homework again. Put up the right questions to the people because if you tell them that you are developing this 4-wheel small car, everybody will say, yeah, okay, because it's our culture problem also, the way you ask the question. Everybody say, yeah, it's okay. Actually, I said, don't ask them. Ask them, do we need a new car, a proper car from proper manufacturer or just this kind of a car? What kind of business I should start? Ask this type of questions to them. Then they will give you the better answers, proper answers. And they listened to me, they did some homework and they I advised them to go to China, get some good brand, leading brand and launch that brand. And I'm happy that today it's one of the leading companies in Pakistan in auto industry. Their share was like 60, 70 rupees, 80 rupees floating and now averagely today it's about 1800 rupees. What? Yeah. It's more than 1800 rupees today. So that's the scaling of business. How they transform themselves from an auto rickshaw manufacturer to the leading auto industry specialist. So this is how we need to look at the businesses like this, how we can scale up the business. That's what we needed because when we scale up the businesses, we'll scale up the economy, we'll scale up the Pakistan. So normally there are 3 types of situations when we recommend scaling up of the businesses. Normally people consider like this. First is people are stuck up. They don't know what to do. And they are just struggling and surviving. And basically the business is draining out. Whether they realize it or not. Most of the time people don't realize their business is going down. They keep on working hard without changing any strategy, proper execution, or studying why the business is not expanding and growing. So this is the first situation. Second situation is the business is increasing in a linear way, gradually growing the business. I worked a lot with the Japanese auto industry, and they have introduced the concepts of lean manufacturing, Kaizen, continuous improvement, and Six Sigma, and the gradual increase of the businesses. But what happened is, the world is changing now. It's a very disruptive world now, and we have witnessed that despite all these efforts where they say 1% continuous improvement, concept of 1% continuous improvement, I say to those companies, if 1% continuous improvement is working today, then the Japanese home appliances industry does not finish. Today we don't see the Panasonic thriving, Sony, Sharp, Toshiba, all those companies. And now I see the same story about the auto industry also. Yesterday I was listening and the CEO of the Honda say, I think we will not be able to compete the Chinese. The way they launched the auto industry in China, it's very difficult for any other country or any other company to grow with them, to compete with them. So this is another example of scaling up the business. From nowhere to the leading auto industry in the world now, it's going to be the Chinese side. So this is another problem facing by the businesses. And the third is, we are growing rapidly, companies are growing rapidly, but they have a lot of orders, but they don't know how to execute them. They don't have the system and the processes to execute those orders. It's still a business is founder driven. Founders are making efforts day and night, have limited team is not aligned, there's no culture to it, there's no system to it. That's another challenge for the companies. That's why they could not scale up the business. So normally why businesses get stuck? Some of the reasons are basically it starts from the leadership, the people sitting on the top, it's the founder. He needs to upgrade himself first before the company can grow further. And we as a nation, I feel that we fail to admit this factor. We feel we are here, we are doing good, and we can still grow our businesses without realizing that you are the bottleneck, it's not your team. Yes, there are team problems also, culture building, team problems, many things, but it starts with the leadership. The second thing is we don't have the systems. Founders want all decisions to be made. He wants all the controls. He likes Pakistani people, Pakistani owners like to sign every parchi, I would say the parchi. They would like to do this thing. But then they don't have the time to think about it, to do the important things which they should be doing. So that's another problem. Then the problem is the strategy. Pakistani businesses, somebody advised them, oh, this is a good opportunity, good business, this is the good business. They start jumping towards those businesses rather than focusing on their own strategies, own business and scaling them. They keep looking around here and there for businesses because they are unclear what to do. They never made any strategy. So that's another reason why we are stuck up. And then another thing is execution. We lack a lot on execution. We make a lot of plans, we talk a lot, we give a lot of ideas, but we don't execute. And I would say that this is today even the Western world has the same problem, but to the lesser extent than us. We have a lot more problem. If we go towards China, if we look at towards China, because I've been traveling to China from last 23 years, I've seen how they have grown from nowhere to where they are today. And still, world do not know where they are actually, their technologies are where they stand today. So that's another way. They are very fast executors, relentless executors. They have one leader and the rest of the team is basically executors. So whatever they decide, they execute, starting from product idea to product prototype to development master to launching in the market. They are very fast. We'll discuss this further also in this workshop. So in order to check whether we are ready to scale up the business or not, we have to look into these 7 areas basically. First is the leadership. The first question we have to ask ourselves is, can our business run without ourselves? If we are away for, let's say, 30 days, can the business smoothly run without our presence? This is the first question we need to ask ourselves. Second is, are we innovating the products every year, every few months? Because the world is moving very fast. Now you can't develop a product and keep going for like 5 years, 10 years life cycle. Product life cycle is very small. The other is, how efficient is our production, and how efficient and productive is our operations. Are we done smoothly? Is there any wastages or anything like that? Here is, I would say that Kaizen, lean manufacturing is the area where we must apply those things. I don't say that's outdated. I say those, in addition to those, we have to do a lot more to run the business now. But those are also very important. We must follow those 5S, lean manufacturing, Kaizen. Then we have a capital. Do we have enough capital to scale up our businesses? We need structures, we need culture of ownership, mindset. Everybody owns the business or not, or they just came for the day. So that's another our challenge. So let me explain. We have basically 5 stages of businesses. One is startup, then grow up, then speed up, then scale up, then power up. Each stage needs different kind of a structure and different kind of a leadership, because they go through different things. Like the stage 1, mostly it's the product development and the market fit. That's the companies are struggling to look at. Then in the stage 2, it's basically they wanted to stabilize the sales and the revenue. And in stage 3, they speed up the things. They increase the efficiencies. They develop a unique products. They try to innovate more towards the new products. So it's important like that. They build the operational teams. They came out of the founder's mindset. They create the systems. Then the 4th stage is the scale up of businesses. So here is the place where actually growth, the scaling up starts basically. You have the good foundation and now you scale up and multiply year after year your businesses. So this is the time you need to start exporting, think about the exports and trying to grow in a massive level. Then we have the power up. That's where you multiply the things. It's for bigger companies. They are doing IT companies. They did very well in last few years. And they keep changing everything. They keep very rapidly introducing products, developing products, moving to next products, and gaining revenue. Basically, scaling up requires growth. It requires effort. Scaling requires systems, and execution basically requires results. So for scaling up, there are basically 4 pillars of scaling up. You have to have a good strategy. Because most of the businesses are working on planning. They plan the things, but they don't strategize their strategy. Strategy is how you become different than the others, your competitors. If you do the same thing which your competitors are doing it, the automation equipment is available. Teams are ready and available to automate their production lines and design the new products. Everybody is within, let's say, 40-50 kilometer radius. So their communication is very fast and they develop the product, test the products and send to the market very quickly. So what they do is develop locally and sell globally. That's how they become very successful. And with this, their cost is also very less as compared to the Western world, because everything is very proximity. So this is something which Western world is also missing these days. There are three ways to scale up the business. One is the local expansion. You can do it by product expansion, by market expansion, or sometimes companies also do it. They buy the competitors. There are many, let's say, examples that the European car manufacturers are being bought by Indians or the Chinese, and that's how they scale up their businesses very fast. Or Chinese buying American or Japanese companies, so that they can buy the brands, they can buy their technologies, and then they can scale up their businesses. That's one way of doing that expansion. First, you have to see where you stand, and it depends on everybody. What are the circumstances? And based on those circumstances, he has to see which areas he has to scale up. So actually our problem is we are just talking about exports. That's not the only area. Import substitution is another area. Expanding the current market size and then developing new products, that's another area we must see. So we have to study our resources, our not only financial resources, marketing resources, our product resources, our technical resources, and based on that we have to make decisions. Where we stand today, what's the best place to scale up our businesses, and then we have to ask ourselves, are we ready for exports? Because if we are ready for export, then we have to look into the other avenues, like which markets to go, regional markets like Asia, Middle East, Africa, or globally. We can go anywhere, the world is open now. There are many options for scaling up, going to different markets, and people are going. Even in South America, Africa, Middle East, Asia, there are a lot of opportunities there, but that also needs a lot of resources, financial, capital, manpower resources, know-how, and you have to be expert in your products also. You have to see whether your product is exportable, meet those standards or not. That's very important. So now our question is, normally that's the biggest mistake I would say we do these days is, we start exporting too early. Our companies are not ready for that. I'm working with Fan Manufacturing Association now. They asked me to scale up and help businesses expand in exports or develop new companies for the export. But the first thing I feel is most of those companies are not ready to start the exporting business or to enter the exporting business. They are not ready. Export readiness is not there. So if they try to do it, many companies have tried in the past to do that, but what happens is they suffer losses. They supply the product which are inconsistent in quality, which is low in standards, and very difficult to find the good places in those countries. Even countries like Saudi Arabia, where I took a delegation, we are exporting fans there from last 30 years, but no good brand is established there. And now we started working on that, so this is another thing we need to consider before that. So it's not that just see the opportunities and jump in. We have to see where we stand today actually before we decide. But you can, when it's raining, when it's tough time, there's a disruption. If you are ready and you have a system, you can do that. But in a normal days, everything is normal. It's very difficult to get new customers, new buyers. Look at it. Supply chains are shifting. People realize depending on one region or one country is very dangerous. Anytime the production can stop, the supplies can stop. So they are looking for different places, alternate sources to import. So that's another advantage which we can achieve. So growth needs effort, scaling needs system. Pakistan does not lack talent, it lacks businesses that scale. So basically we have to work on our businesses, how to scale up, and until and unless we seriously give priority to our businesses, I'm afraid our economic conditions and economic realities will not change. We have to focus on this, and then everything will be changed. Thank you very much.
Thank you.